Hi everyone, in this video we'll be going through how you can control your motivation and stay consistent when building your new habits. Different people respond to different things in different situations, and if you've had issues with forming habits before, you might not have used the right strategies for you, and that's a very good reason to watch this video. Hi there dear leaders, Teresa here from Lead Yourself. I'm helping you to lead your life towards more freedom and more happiness by providing insights and tips on how to improve your life when it comes to time, energy and money. If you're new to this channel and that's something that interests you, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to stay notified when new content is released, which happens every week. This video is part of a series about building habits that last. If you didn't watch the previous episodes yet, you can use the playlist in the card above, but you may also watch this video standalone. Depending on your personality, you might respond in different ways to the process of building habits, and it's important to know what to do in those different situations. Gretchen Rubin has coined something she calls the 4 tendencies, and when I found out about the concept, it made me realize a lot of things about the process. When talking about the 4 tendencies, Gretchen talks about the fact that you can be either an upholder, an obliger, a questioner, or a rebel. These different tendencies respond to habits in different ways and have different things that motivate them. Gretchen Rubin talks about people having a dominant tendency, but I personally think you can have different tendencies for different situations. I can find areas of my life where I fit into every single one of them, and being able to identify which one is most dominant in any situation helps me to know how to tackle my struggles and how to motivate myself, and I really believe it might help you too. So let's go through these 4 tendencies one by one. I'll be describing them like Gretchen does in terms of their response to inner and outer expectations, and then we'll talk about how to identify that particular state of mind and what tricks you can use if you find yourself leaning towards a certain tendency. First, we have the upholder tendency. This is when you tend to meet both inner and outer expectations. When I'm in this state of mind, I tend to feel that I'm on a roll, but I have to be careful not to take on too much. The perfectionist comes out, and I feel that every commitment is deadly important. I find it extremely hard when things come up that I hadn't planned for and that cause me to not have the possibility to keep my daily commitments. I'm very big on rules and can end up setting almost silly rules for myself and my routine, and I generally feel very focused and motivated to keep going and have frequent looks at my to-do list, checking if there's something I can check off. Did you identify with any of that? When you're an upholder, you generally want to keep a close eye on your expectations, both the ones that you have on yourself and the ones that other people have on you. You might also be a real perfectionist with very high expectations on yourself, and this can be tiring, of course, and it's important to find a balance. In general, you will feel best if you are able to consistently perform your habit routines throughout the day, and in order to do that, first make sure you don't commit to too much. Then make sure you schedule or time box your routine and treat that as a busy time, saying no to other things that might come up. You might also want to look into creating your own rules that dictate what you should be doing when things come up that you have no control over. And that way you will be able to get past the fact that you maybe couldn't perform your routine due to those circumstances, and you will be able to forgive and move on. Watching your progress by measuring is a way to know if you're doing the right thing. This is important so that you don't get stuck in a rigid commitment doing the wrong thing. And knowing that what you do gives the outcome you want is a great way to stay motivated. You don't really lack commitment as you value your commitments to yourself as much as you value those to other people. But sometimes you might feel weaker than other times and cross over into the tendency of an obliger. Obligers tend to meet expectations from other people, but not expectations they have on themselves. This is very common, and I tend to end up being an obliger for commitments that I don't really feel very motivated to act on. When I'm in the state of mind, I tend to need an external deadline or having to have made a promise to someone else in order to get things done. When I was a student, I could never bring myself to consistently study as much as I might have wanted, and always ended up studying for exams only. And when at work, there are times when I need to tell my colleagues that I will finish a daunting task that very same day in order to get myself to finish it. If you feel like you need to involve other people in some way in order to get things done, you probably lean towards the tendency of an obliger. Since the need for external accountability when forming habits is very common, there are several solutions available. First, if you can, try to find someone to be accountable to. That can be a friend, a coach, your boss, or even a stranger online. Check in regularly and make sure you're on track. Depending on what your commitment is, you might also be able to team up with others, for instance for doing workout sessions together. Letting others down is something you will not do likely. Finally, you might consider signing up for services such as Bosses as a Service or Stick, where you can get other people to check in on you. If you're a little bit into gaming, you might also try to use the app Habitica together with your friends. Not following through on your commitments might actually damage them inside the game. If you don't feel that external accountability does it for you, you might either be leaning towards a questioner tendency or a rebel tendency. When you lean towards a questioner tendency, you are constantly questioning external expectations while meeting your own expectations on yourself. I tend towards being a questioner when I have reservations and need to know why something is the right thing to do before doing it. I remember a colleague doing a carnivore diet and another one doing a low-carb diet. I thought that was insane at first, as I was a firm believer in the eat a bit of everything diet. Even though I needed to lose weight badly, it wasn't until they were showing results that I finally got curious and actually did my research. It wasn't until I found a webpage in my own language where an actual doctor was talking about low carb and what happens in the body, and there were a ton of success stories and interviews showing the most amazing health benefits that I finally decided to try. I needed to be convinced with scientific evidence and the results of my colleagues in order to take action. This need for proof or explanation is what identifies a questioner. Even when I decided to try it, I did just that, try it. I did a 2-week challenge and ended up continuing after that when I got results myself. Doing this kind of trial might be a good idea if you know you really want to get started with something, but have doubts as to whether or not it will work or if it's right for you. And set a challenge for a week or 2 and just try it, whatever it is. You don't have to commit to making it a habit until you're convinced. Once you are convinced, committing will be easy, because once you buy into something as a questioner, it will be easy to form a really strong sense of commitment. You might also be interested in closely monitoring your progress by the means of measurement and draw knowledge from graphs and other analysis tools. Also, make sure that you know exactly why and how you are going to be doing something before you commit. If you do not fully buy into an idea, then you are likely to fail in taking action on it. Finally, we have the rebel tendency. This is a state of mind where you resist all forms of commitments and you just want to be doing what you really want to do in a spontaneous manner. I tend to end up with a rebel tendency when I decide to take a break, for instance during vacation. Then I tend to remove all of my alarms and reminders, pause commitments, and just do what I think is fun. But I'm rarely a true rebel, but I am living with one. He hates everything that has to do with planning and commitments, and he almost gets angry when I ask if he will be going out with his friends 2 days later, as he wants to keep everything open to the last minute so that he can do what he feels like doing. But he still does things like practice the piano every day. But he's not being rigid about it, unlike me, who is more all or nothing. At work, he often suffers if he has to do a task that he doesn't want to do, and he often takes initiatives to do good things that he wants to do instead, providing value that way. It's probably highly unlikely that you're watching this video if you're a true rebel, but you may find yourself in situations where you feel like you just want to resist commitments that you should really be making. In any case, since rebels usually don't like the thought of habits or commitments, it's best to not think of them as that at all. Instead, try to use ways to get you to really want to do those things. One thing that drives people with a rebel tendency is that they tend to be big on their identity. They might be identifying as someone who does not accept animal cruelty and have no issues following a vegan diet due to this, or they might be identifying as a writer and have no issues writing every day. This is something you can make use of, even if your rebel tendencies are temporary. Telling yourself that you are the kind of person that goes for a walk every day might be immensely more powerful than telling yourself that you have to go for a walk every day. If possible, try to anchor your habits onto your core identity values in some way. This will give you a very strong why that will cause you to act a certain way. So make the choice who you want to be and live that life. Another thing that you might feel triggers you when you're dominated by a rebel tendency is when you're being challenged in a way that dares you and where you are driven by wanting to prove someone wrong, maybe even yourself. You might even aim to be different and to stand out in the way that you perform your routine or even in your choice of habits. In any case, if you feel rebel tendencies, don't go and get accountability partners or habit tracker apps just because that's what everyone else does. Just be the best version of yourself instead. That's it for today. Unless someone asks for more, this will be the end of this Building Habits That Last series. And I really hope you get some value out of watching these videos and that you will come out stronger for it. Let me know in the comments if there was something that made a particular difference for you. And make sure to like this video and subscribe and hit the bell to get notified when new content is released on this channel. And go check out some of my other videos. Thank you for watching. I love you and I see you next time. Bye!